The Lemp Mansion is a staple landmark of St. Louis City. A must-see for any tourists, the mansion's infamous reputation reaches heights rarely touched by other historical homes throughout the United States. It has been referred to as one of the 10 most haunted places in America. But how did this come to be? At the time, Lemp was a household name in the St. Louis area. The family was wealthy, popular, and very influential. They were also greatly admired by the public, even to the point of being referred to as royalty. So, how did such a wealthy, successful, and popular family name become associated with grief, fear, abuse, and scandal? We've done a dive into the history of the mansion and the Lemp family that inhabited it in an attempt to answer this question. Originally built by Julia's father in 1868, the mansion was to be headquarters of the Lemp Brewing Company, as well as the home of the newlyweds Julia and William Sr. Although the young couple seemed to be enjoying the prime of their lives, a darkness loomed over them, growing even nearer as the years dragged on, eventually engulfing almost every member of the family.
William and Julia would go on to have 8 children: Anna, William Jr., Louis, Charles, Frederick, Hilda, Edwin, and Elsa. On August 13, 1867, William Lemp Jr., affectionately named Billy, was born. Because he was William's firstborn son, he expected to inherit his father and grandfather's legacy. However, William Sr.'s favor would eventually fall upon his favorite son, Frederick, creating friction amongst the two brothers. Unbeknownst to the family, Frederick had severe health problems, and on December 12, 1908, Frederick would die suddenly from a heart failure. His death devastated the entire family, but none were more affected as much as William Sr. After the death, William became disconnected, anxious, and he stopped going out in public, placing himself into a self-imposed and tormented solitude. Although William was now a recluse, he still made an effort to keep the brewery afloat, until his spirit was finally broken on a cold New Year's Day in 1904. He had heard the news that his closest friend, Frederick Pabst, had passed away, and on the early morning of February 13th, 1904, William Sr. walked into his bedroom and shot himself in the head. The Lemp Empire was now passed to William Jr., although not how he'd hoped. In 1910, Elsa Lemp Wright, William's youngest child, married Thomas Wright, though their marriage was far from happy. In 1919, Elsa filed for divorce, citing damage to her mental and physical health. The divorce was granted, but Elsa soon remarried Thomas in 1920. On March 20th, less than a month later, Elsa Lemp Wright fatally shot herself in her home at 13 Horns Place.
Due to the family's emotionally crushing circumstances and the looming threat of prohibition, William Jr. was not able to run the company with the success of his father during his prime. The Lemp Brewery was shut down after the beginning of Prohibition, and the Falstaff trademark was sold to a family friend. Then, in 1922, the brewery complex, which had once been valued at $7 million, was sold to the International Shoe Company for $588,000. On December 29, 1922, William Jr. shot himself in the chest, ending his life and leaving his ex-wife Lillian and their child William III behind. Charles Lemp, the third son of William Sr., was the last Lemp family member to live in the mansion. Returning to the estate in 1929, he did not live there alone. At the time, he inhabited the home with his dog, 2 servants, and a married couple. At 8 a.m. on May 10, 1949, servant Alfred Biddard went to take the breakfast tray from Charles's room. Looking inside, Alfred found 77-year-old Charles dead on the floor, still holding his Army Colt revolver in his hand. The previous night, Charles Lemp took his own life after shooting his dog, Serva, in the basement. It is said that Charles did this because he didn't want her to be alone after he was gone. Heartbreakingly, Serva was not found in the basement where she was shot. Rather, her body was discovered halfway up the stairs, meaning she was still alive when Charles left her. She died alone in the dark, struggling to climb the cold basement stairs so she could return to her beloved master.
With all of these terrible events, it's no wonder that the Lemp Mansion is allegedly haunted. People who visit the mansion commonly experience hearing footsteps emanating from the empty rooms, feeling followed by oppressive energy, and some even see apparitions still wandering the halls. Betsy Burnett Ballinger, the official paranormal investigator and historian for the Lemp Mansion, has been quoted saying, "We do get spirits that have crossed over and crossed back and visit us, and they're around us here in this house. One of the nights when Betsy was sleeping in the mansion, she heard someone walking around the bed, and it wasn't my partner who was there. It kept walking and circling and circling. She felt it lean over her before making a loud, gut-wrenching moan." It is said that the third floor of the mansion is haunted by the spirit of a young boy named Zeke. Records of Zeke's existence are sparse, due to him allegedly being an illegitimate child of the Lemp family. According to the myth, Zeke was mentally disabled and physically deformed, and they kept him chained up on the 3rd floor of the Lemp mansion. At one point, Betsy brought a stuffed teddy bear from her home, leaving it on the staircase for Zeke to play with. Later, during the setup for an interview, she looked up at the stairs to witness the bear, up in the air, swaying back and forth, as if the little boy was playing.
Mandy Schwartz, Kat's aunt, had multiple personal paranormal experiences in the Lynn home. The first incident occurred in 2012. Mandy, her husband, and her children were all attending her sister-in-law's wedding at the mansion.
Julie was in the lavender room in her dress. Everyone else is outside in the gazebo waiting for the wedding to start. And as we were going back down the stairs, I get to the landing, turn around and notice my son's not with us. He's standing at the top, frozen. And I was like, come on, Michael, let's go. And he just kind of stood there and kept looking down. And he said, no, they're staring at me. And I remember my husband went up the rest of the stairs to get him, and Michael buried his head in my husband's shoulder and would not look up. Get to the bottom of the stairs, they walk out the front door, and then my son's right back to normal, running around, laughing. My toddler would not go back in. He would not take the 2 steps in the house. He just kind of stood at the threshold, wouldn't really look in. He kept kind of looking down at that concrete step. He was so scared of something in that house, which is what drove my interest on going back.
Mandy never forgot that experience or the mansion that caused it. Later in 2013, she would return to stay the night with her mother, Laurie, and her best friend, Danny.
There was a point in the evening, it was later at night, I'd say probably 11. I had stepped outside, I wanted to smoke, so both of them came with me, and as we turned to go back up the stairs, I looked up, and clear as can be was a man in a black suit with a black top hat. He was clear enough that I could tell it was a white male. I could clearly see buttons. I could see the collar of his shirt, but he wasn't solid like we are. I elbowed Lori, and she looked up and she was like, do you see the man in the top hat? And then by the time Danny turned around to look, it was gone. I don't remember seeing it walk away. I don't remember seeing it vanish. It was gone. So the evening continues. We start to wind down, and we're sleeping in the lavender room, and the door was wide open because we were the only ones in there. And I heard from outside of the bedroom door a senior citizen male clear his throat, like that deep, gurgly, nasty sound of them clearing their throat. So I quickly turned my eyes to the right side and then slowly turned my head towards the door, and I didn't see anything. And about 30 seconds to a minute goes by, and I hear it again, and it lasts 8 to 10 seconds. So I elbow Lori, and she looks at me, and I put my fingers to my mouth like this, shh, and I tell her, listen. And we sat there for what felt like 2 minutes, and I had just started to kind of give up hope that it wasn't going to happen again, when we both hear a senior citizen man clearing his throat. Too frightened to get out of bed, we continued laying there, where eventually we both fell asleep.
Ever since the Lemp family first moved into the home in 1876, the mansion has accumulated a notorious reputation, which is a legacy that, according to the countless paranormal stories like Mandy's, continues to this day. And although the hauntings are alleged, the tragedy is undeniable. It is important to remember the history of the Lemp family when discussing the mansion, showing respect for the turmoil they endured. Hopefully this project has left an impression of this reverence on all of you watching, and the next time you're in the St. Louis area, consider stopping by the mansion. After all, you never know what you may encounter there. Oh, also the employees are super friendly and they have a bar.